Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. I have another guest who is actually a presenter at the Sacred Sexual Music Festival this year. And as you guys know, this festival is fast approaching. We just have a little bit of time left before we're actually good to go. The conference starts April 16th, 17th, and 18th. My guest today is actually a presenter on the 18th of April. And my guest today is Joseph Ghabi. So when you hear the words mystic, spiritual teacher, or numerologist, Joseph may not fit the picture of what comes to mind. He's a former engineer, banker, and international sales manager. He's packed with degrees and certifications given only to people of science and logic. Yet his true gift appears in areas less frequented by typical scientists. Joseph is known worldwide as a healer and a visionary. His unique approach to healing the pain of your past has been perfected from years of working with clients and training holistic practitioners. He's an expert numerologist, and he's going to be presenting numerology and sexuality at the conference this year, which is going to be interesting. And he's also doing the closing meditation. So he speaks on topics ranging from relationships and the law of attraction to life purpose and past histories. He's a natural medium and a minister of metaphysics, and he's chosen to devote his life to working with healing energy. And he's currently working on his PhD in metaphysical counseling, and he has a podcast. So I know you guys love podcasts, Numerology for Life. So check that out as well. So Joseph, welcome to the Path 11 podcast.
Thank you for having me, April. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So give me a little bit more of your background. I mean, how do you go from a former engineer, banker, and a sales manager now into, this holistic world of numerology and healing and spirituality?
Well, I'm going to take you a little bit backward even more. I grew up in a Catholic family. This Catholic family was in a Jewish neighborhood in a Muslim city. So I had the whole background of that, but I was so bored at that time. I mean, I kept telling myself, what on earth am I doing here? And I was always sitting at the beach, and at age of 8, gazing to the sun, something blurs and opened up. And I've seen my whole lifetime in front of me, from age of 8 till age of 15. And at age of 15, it's completely stopped. And I don't see any visions because they introduced girls in school. So priority changed. So at 19, I moved to the States, and I started to study electrical engineering. I did a master in computer science in New York City. And 3 months after graduation, I quit. I said, that's not for me. I moved from New York to Montreal, Canada. And in Montreal, an event happened that brought me that I have to get back to what I was seeing at young age. So I started into the meditation. I do all my works through meditation. And then somebody presented me with a book of numerology. And I don't like to read, because every time I open 4 or 5 pages of any book, I sleep. So I put the book under my pillow. And at the same time, I went into a meditation. I found out that I have several lifetimes I was doing numerology. So I started to download it. And I brought it that way. Now, I started as a physical healer, which is more everything I do from a healing perspective as a physical healer. And I was trained completely by my guides. And after that, I realized that sometimes we have a problem with some people that having we can give them the healing, but then something comes back. So what happened is I asked my God, why this symptom is coming back? And very interesting, they told me, we need to take care of the subconscious. We need to look into different things. So I downloaded at that time the soul agreement. And I start working with the soul agreement, and I start working with the mental emotional healing. And I realized that could be the key, that where it's all started. And I start working with my system at that point for the last 30 years. And it is a system that is very much in sync with the 5D consciousness that is already in our surrounding. So there is nothing by mistake. There is nothing by coincidence. And eventually, when you came into this lifetime, there was no instruction manual coming with you. So everybody was guessing who you might be, who you are, and everything around that, but there was no instruction manual. So, and we need to learn about ourselves by starting to go into our blueprint. What is my blueprint can say about me, and how can I move and do things from that perspective? So it's all related through our 4 pillars that I work closely with, which is the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, and bringing some harmony between each other.
Okay, so with the blueprint, how do we begin to question that within ourselves? Can you walk me through a little bit of that, maybe personally, and trying to figure out maybe who I am? I mean,
Yes.
Clearly I'm connected with knowing that I am a healer in this lifetime and probably have been in past lifetimes. I feel very drawn and know that I'm connected to a larger purpose of the consciousness system with the platforms that I have. I know a little bit about numerology, and I know that I'm a number 9 from what I've been told by other numerologists, which is the number of completion. And so then how do I dive a little bit deeper into maybe understanding my blueprint?
Okay. Now, your date of birth determines your path into this lifetime, what you're meant to be doing, what on earth we're coming here to present ourselves to the world. We're all coming to serve in whatever capacity or form or shape. So that's no doubt from that. Now, the whole humanity, and some neurologists won't agree with me about that, but it is that this is where the problem for many of us. We get into a career, we get into things that we enjoy doing, but our purpose in this lifetime is to be happy, joyful, and fulfilled. And you can tell me how many are happy, joyful, and fulfilled in the 4 elements. Because if you have a table that has 4 legs, if you have one leg out of this table, how is your table?
Lopsided, crooked.
Upsided completely. So you have some challenges that comes from your date of birth. Now, from your name, it determines your personality, your karma here, what you're meant to be having as lesson and experiences into your life. And those will determine a lot of facets of knowledge about yourself. Even if we're going to talk about, like, for example, if from 30 years doing thousands of people from 53 countries eventually, and many background of culture even, I realized one thing: there is a lot of people at this time with a problem with the 5 vibration, and 5 vibration is about sexuality as part of it. And that's something, because 5 is about freedom also. So they're all connected, they're all related. Now, for your 9 life paths, you have 2 tasks to do from the 9. It is about completion, but there is 2 tasks that your soul would love for you to do. The first one is your soul doesn't want you to keep hanging over the agreements that you signed up with, doesn't want you to keep hanging over the karma, the lessons, all of what happened in the past, wants you to completely close that, because your soul wants to come back into brand new experiences in the future. So this is why you have the 9, is the end of situation, to start something new. So, but the task on the physical, it's you who have to take that in your hand to fix it. Now, the second part of you, you're very much into being a humanitarian. You're here to empower people. You're here to be with people and help them in whatever form or shape. But at the same time, you have lots of compassion, but you have to put compassion first in you before you give it away to everybody else. Because if you're driving a car and you're on an empty tank, it won't take you too far.
Right.
You know, and you might have brought with you a little bit of self-doubt sometimes, and you might have been executed before. Sometimes you might have questioning maybe your healing gifts or how you're doing your gift. You have so many questions, or you're not wanting to see the answer even, because it has a bad result memory from a past life that is still running into your system.
Interesting.
Because everything would happen for us in this lifetime. It has a background from a past lifetime. I don't care to see the past lifetime. I need to fix this life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? People go and waste their time into the past lifetime, but we still mess in this life. We need to fix this one. It will take care of the past life. So we have to go in a different way to look into it. And that's where, because you came with we didn't came with an instruction manual. So your parents didn't know about the instruction manual, who you are, what you are. They start proposing, April is this way or that way. According to who? According to what? And you're supposed to go this way, and then everybody took in you that way. And then you got lost in between the translation between what you're meant to be doing. Now I have to come back all the way back to center myself and align myself with my soul, because that will help me to move further away from everything else. And this is where we have to start understanding our blueprint, where we came from, and how we can manage back and put back on track. Because whatever you learned before, 20 years before you left home, whatever you learned, most of it are illusional. So you have to release those things, and in order, otherwise you always hang into a matrix that's keeping you not to play your full game. And that's where we start playing the smaller part of us. Oh, I'm not good enough. Who am I to do that? Why am I doing this? And we start bringing all of these questions, and especially if you had a little bit of self-doubt coming from the childhood, and a little bit of lack of trust in yourself or in the universe. And that's where we need to learn to manage all of these together. And it doesn't take much to do that. And healing is not a life process, by the way. It's not a life sentence. We can kill our healing in a very short period of time.
Yeah, you bring up so many great points. I mean, you're right. Like within the first 20 years, there's so many labels that were given, right? Just, from growing up, like you said, our parents kind of describing us who we are, what our personality is like, or, oh, she's shy, or, oh, this one's rambunctious, or, then we go through structured school. And then as teenagers, we're trying to find our identity. And same thing as we're moving into our 20s. And, I see, a lot of people in my practice that eventually come to me because they say, I don't know who I am anymore. Can you help me find out who I am? I have to get back to me. I mean, that's a phrase I've heard so many times. And so that's very similar to exactly what you're saying. They're really trying, with your wording, they're trying to find their blueprint,
I had so many clients, they're coming to me to learn about their identity, who they are, and especially moms, by the way.
Yes.
Especially moms, because moms have been all their life taking care of the kids, taking care of everything else. And the kids now left to school, they're by themselves, then they wonder, who am I? Even their husband call them mom. So it's like they lost into the translation of it. They don't know who they are any longer because they lost their identity. And that's where you have to bring them back into the track, into getting them to see their blueprint and start identify with it. And then they can start picking up the steam from there and take it to any level they want to take it.
Yeah, I'd like to just pick your brain a little bit too about the name, because you said that our name means something as well. And I've always, for the most part, liked my name. I used to get teased because it's a month and people would say, oh, April, May, June, July. Oh, April isn't here yet. April showers bring May flowers. I mean, I've heard it all, right? And I'm born in April. So people are like, oh, were you named April because you're born in April? And no, that's not the story. My mom, when she was a student teacher in Arizona on a reservation, fell in love with a beautiful student. And she was a young girl and her name was April. And so she said, if I ever have a daughter, I'm going to name her April. This beautiful student that was on this Indian reservation. So that's how my name came to be. My middle name is Anne, which my great-grandmother had chosen for Saint Anne because she's very spiritual. And my last name is Hannah, which is my father's. So April Ann Hannah flows pretty nicely. And I remember when I had, back in the day, got married to my first husband there, my friends were grieving my name, that I changed my name. they're like, oh my God, I just know you as April Hannah. And like, they really had a hard time with it. Are you sure you want to change your name? We just love your name. And I was, it was kind of thought it was like a little strange. Like, why are people attached to my name? Like, what's the big deal? Like, isn't this what you're supposed to do? Just take your husband's last name. And that just never really felt right to me, and clearly that marriage had ended and I got my name back. And my friends again were like, I'm so glad you're April Hannah again. And I was like, wow, this is like just a little weird. I don't know. But so what is it about our name? Because I've heard, I don't know if it's true, but I've heard that they say that we choose our names and we whisper it in our parents' ears. And that's about as far as I've gone with that. I've never had anyone really talk about that. Or how do we know if that's true? So what's the power behind the name, and how do you think we get these names in this lifetime?
Your name is everything. If your life going in a nowhere, check your name, because you have sometimes a middle name that you don't use, because if you don't use it, then you lose it. So everything you don't use, any letter you add, you subtract, it become different vibration. I don't advise women to have their husband's name, because you already know yourself in one way. Why you want to mix yourself with something you don't know where you're going? Because what happened every time you change your name, your character, your personality, your experiences, everything changed with it. Now, for the better or for the worse. So if you have more than one marriage, if you adopted both times the husband's name, you notice your experience went this way in that name, and it went that way in that name, because of the name change. Because every letter in your name, now in your case, if I take April, I just calculated a minute ago, and if I put your name without the N, your name as it is, you have a missing 2, 4, and 6. So if you adopted a husband's name doesn't have the 2, 4, and 6, you didn't gain nothing from them. But if they have the 2, 4, and 6, then they're trying to improve you. Otherwise, you might lose some of the letters from your name, then you lost, because like in Hannah, you have 2, 8. If the husband doesn't have the 8, then you lost the 8, then and 8 is about money, power, and achieving recognition. And then this is when you start having this self-sabotage, just to avoid become workaholic, just to avoid dealing with things. And you might have a small, tiny fear of using your power, because you're afraid of your power. So if you lost that 8, so everything in the name will change the direction completely in our life. Now, in your name right now, you have a missing 2, 4, and 6. Now, for April, with the 2 is not an easy vibration. It's not at all as an easy vibration. It's a humanity problem, to be honest. Because if we don't have a name problem, we don't have divorces, to be honest. Because 8 is about relationships. So it's all about relationship. It started how was your relationship with your parents? How was your relationship with your friends, teachers, co-workers, later personal relationship, and if you have kids, your own kids. So how you handle people, how you allow people to dictate the outcome of your life. So this is where the 2. So because you have a gigantic heart, but doesn't mean everybody has to walk over your heart just because you're nice or you're kind. So it is your responsibility from that aspect to have a clear sense of boundaries, clear sense of limits, and you need to learn to say no to people. Because at the early stage, you used to say yes to everybody just to please them, or you're just going to keep feeling connected with people, or you want to do it just to keep peace. But as that peace was put on your expense or not on your expense, because 2, their biggest problem, which is an opportunity to grow, is their oversensitivity. And the moment they have an oversensitivity, they can easily be persuaded to become a doormat or a victim to other people. But that's one part of your experience that you need to see if you can be aligning yourself into managing. Now, is N with E or without E?
It's with an E. And the last name ends with an H. Some people spell it without the H at the end, but mine has an H at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it in your email at one point. That's why I took it from the email. But this is where you have that aspect. Now you have the missing four. Four is about your four pillars: mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. So you might have an imbalance into growing up into your family. Now, one possibility, you might have a divorce in the family. If that happened, then it might go to divorce in you if you didn't fix the problem from early stage. Because we always model things because we need to understand how my mom and dad felt when they did the divorce. So I need to model it myself in order to feel it myself. And we do things because it's a law of attraction. We keep attracting similarity until we learn our lesson. And what we attract usually is the feeling that behind the experience. How mom and dad made you feel. If you didn't address those feelings, then you're going to attract it in different people that they're going to be around you, because I need to understand that lesson. I need to, so I keep attracting. And you hear people, sometimes they used to say, it feels like I'm dating my mom or I'm dating my dad. You're not dating your mom or dad. You're dating the feelings that mom and dad left in you. And now you see it in the person you're dating. It's keep reminding you of them. And that's what's happening. So this is with the four. So you need to learn how to balance your mental, emotional, physical, and spirituals, and bring some stability into them at whatever phase of it. So that's mean anything from childhood has to go. You cannot keep dragging it with you because you're going to keep attracting it. So this is where in my healing program, I completely unplug everything from the past. We don't need it. And that will taken care also of all the past life. Because once we unplug, it doesn't mean you're not going to speak with the people. We're unplugging the old nonsense that we used to have between each other. As I say it in my public speaking, when you're just coming into this life, the first thing you do, you open your eyes and then you look to everybody and then you start crying. And when you look to everybody, it's not you again. I'm coming again to be with the same crowd that I used to be in a past lifetime. This is why we cry. So in that sense, because it's familiar energies. We know that I've been with my parents maybe for 10 lifetimes. I've been doing the same thing. One time I am their kid, one time I am their kid. So we keep doing the same process until we learn and we release that aspect of our pattern, and then we can solve the whole problem. Now, so this is why it's very essential to have the stability for you, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual, in order to have the balance for you. But then you have the six. Six is about healing, but it is missing from you. Now, six is about family. That means you have to close anything with the family, because it's too much pattern. And you are in 9. That means I need to end that situation in my life. It has to be done. And it doesn't take much to close everything because it's so simple. I do it in a 14-week program even. So it's not like it's that complicated. But with the 6, also, it is about the healing. Now, if it's missing in your life, that means you might have in a previous lifetime the feeling or the sensation of being executed, mistakenly doing healing while everybody thought you've been doing witchcraft. And in our lifetime today, there's many of us, they went through that experience. So we keep coming as a healer, so you have to disconnect yourself from that feeling. If you have those feelings, and if you feel that you have a question mark around your healing practice, you have questioned that, why am, can I trust this? Can I do this? Can I, so you always have kind of hesitation, because I don't want to get executed again in the back of the mind, in the subconscious. So that's part of the small experience, is not much. And if you want to know if you've been executed, you will see how many lines you have on the neck, because each line, that means there was an execution. Some people, they have many lines. Some people, they have 1 or 2 visible, but we have different type of showing. This is when I do psychosomatic therapy, or psychosomatic numerology that I created by merging psychosomatic therapy and numerology, and how it affects the body and the chakra with our vibrations that we're having hold. So the 2 and 4 and 6, for example, if we take them into the chakras, 2 and 6 is your heart chakra. So you might have a wall around the heart to protect yourself. And one of your experience also that you need to get out from the back seat and start being in the front seat. But if the memory too strong for you, for the 6 that have been executed, so you might choose to stay in the back seat, play safe, or keep playing small. But that's not you're here for. You're here for the bigger aspect of things, and you're here to shine differently. But sometimes if we never process and release the past, it keep haunting us in our future. As Wayne Dyer, he have one quote on that. Somehow I read it a long time ago. So this is where the 6 can help you empower more your business if you address it properly, because it is something that can make a difference for you in the future.
Yeah, I mean, you've validated everything. Absolutely. I mean, I had to work a lot to find my no and say no to people. So boundaries, right? So worked on that. My parents did divorce when I was 1. And, my mom really struggled in relationships as well. So I could see that pattern and the energy of her with struggling with addiction and alcoholism. My first husband was an alcoholic. So it wasn't like I was dating my mom, but dating the energy of what I knew, to be. And,
what's familiar.
Yeah, exactly. And, and the healing, I think, with being a traditional mental health therapist, and then moving into this healing world, there was a really large period of time where I was afraid to say that I did Reiki or that I was a Reiki master. And well, how will I be looked at coming out of the clinical world? And, I'm doing all of this, psychic intuition stuff and healing work. So there was, fear based around that, and still kind of like dividing myself from that. Now you're going to have me going around looking at everybody's neck and counting people's lines and seeing. And it's so interesting that you say that, because I've seen a lot of clients that will come to me and they're very interested in becoming healers, or they will take like hundreds of trainings and they will read thousands of books, but they will never take the leap to go in because, and I think it's for that same fear factor that you're talking about.
Yeah. And that can be released in no time.
Yeah.
In no time. It can be released in no time. Even now I do the release into painting. So when we do the meditation, we get the feeling, whatever it is, and then I will invite everybody to purge those feelings into a painting and let it be out of their system. And then you start seeing the changes that start to take place for them. And it's like they're completely opening up, because the patterns will continue on passing by from me all my life. And I even pass them to the next generation from me, because it is always, I'm living in that pattern. And that pattern, I need to break it at one point in order to stop it. If I'm doing the calculation from all your ancestry up to you, you're going to find all the same number missing everywhere, because it's the same pattern. So you might be the great-great-grandmother coming now in you. And if you see your great-grandmother, if you have the details of her, you will see yours are the same. That's been, you're repeating the same lifetime of your great-grandmother. And we keep coming back until we learn the lessons that we need to learn. It's fascinating what we find out about ourselves if we done the numerology in a proper way. Because for me, I call it blueprint numerology for the one reason. I don't do predictions for anybody. Because the number one question everybody asked me in the past said, what is my destiny? So I wondered why you don't know what's your destiny if you're already signed a soul agreement with your soul to represent your soul here. You should have all the blueprint, whatever you're supposed to be doing. But I realized that people are stuck behind certain experiences from their past, and this is where they need to let it out of their system in order to be free. And that's where the freedom is coming into our 5D consciousness at this moment. That's going to shake up many of us. to the core of us. And and it's going to touch from the beginning of the year until now. It's going to start to touch the practitioner, the healers, the coaches, whatever type of modality that we play that affect with people is going to touch us first, the 5D. If we still have things missing, it's going to come to us first to shake us, because once it's going to hit the masses, we need enough healers to be able to handle the masses. And that's why it's going to, from the beginning of the year, I've been receiving a lot of practitioners, a lot of healers. I don't know what's happening in my life. I said, you have to clear up your backpack, because you have in your backpack so many stuff into it that you lost track of. Keep moving with it further ahead and start doing whatever you're meant to be doing into this lifetime. So only we keep repeating patterns, and we think we are doing things for our purpose, but eventually your purpose is to be happy, joyful, and fulfilled. If you don't have those, and you have your table with 4 legs, not 3 legs, not 2 legs, it has to be 4 legs. Otherwise, it won't sustain you to stay for a longer period of time.
Wow, I love this perspective. I mean, you're making me look at numerology in a totally different way. You know, I love this concept of the blueprint and looking it up, to detach from it, to leave it. And I think sometimes when I've gone to a numerologist before, or I've interviewed a couple for the podcast, it's always about, like, okay, so what's my number and what am I supposed to do in this lifetime? You know, but I think, like you said, really recognizing those patterns and clearing it up. And I never knew that you could find numbers in letters, I guess. In
big time.
Yeah,
big time.
I never knew that.
Everything vibration. Look, I studied electrical engineering, and in electrical engineering, we study energy, vibration, and frequency, and we used to measure it. This is what I use in numerology. And when I studied computer science, programming, deprogramming, changing the code, and this is what I do in my healing. By reformat the command and change it to something else. By helping my clients to learn about choosing the right choices instead of choosing the old patterns.
Makes sense.
So I didn't study for no reason.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think your background just it gives another dimension to you, and where you're able to kind of hold these concepts in both like the left brain and the right brain, and kind of, like put them together. Yeah. So, and I would never tie numerology with sexuality. I don't know why, but what's the connection? I don't know. Like,
it's a huge connection.
Yeah. So what does it mean? Because I've never talked about this before.
Okay. The vibration that is for sexuality is basically coming from the 5 vibration. 5 vibration is about freedom, but it's freedom from family, freedom from culture, freedom from religion, freedom from your way of thinking that doesn't support you any longer, freedom from negative people around you, freedom from your unnecessary responsibilities, and freedom from all your fears. Now, the bad things with the 5 is self-indulgence, because self-indulgence is a negative 5. And part of the negative 5 in the self-indulgence is very simple. Some of the self-indulgence, there's much more. Gambling, drinking, smoking, drugs, overeating or undereating, over sex or under sex, over shopping or under shopping, over exercising or under exercising. Anything we do too much of it or too little of it, to keep us avoiding what we need to work on ourselves for, whatever it is called self-indulgence. Now, in the sex world, in the people who do prostitution or getting into the movie industries from the sexual side, I did a study on it when I used to live in Montreal, and I had the opportunity to do it at that time, and most 98% were 5s.
Wow.
And the reason for that is basically because sexuality become an escape. Sexuality become our escape against the system. So we revolt against it. So if we're doing it that way, that's negative, still negative. Now, 5 in psychosomatic numerology is the sacral chakra. And your sacral chakra is about your sensuality, sexuality, procreation, relationships, and creativity, and much more. So if you have a blocked sexual chakra, the sacral chakra, if you have it blocked, that means you can have sex, but you don't feel it. It becomes mechanics. But because you came from maybe a religious background that they shamed sexuality. You came from a background that they said is not good to be involved before you get married, or whatever it is, the excuses that have been given to anybody, and we all get programmed to shrink that chakra. Now, if you have your sacral chakra closed, technically speaking, you're not alive, because your sacral chakra is your life. It's all the energy goes there. If you have a heart problem in the heart, everything goes into the sacral chakra after you address the heart. So that energy into the sacral, you always need to empty it even. Because it contains, I call it a reservoir. If I'm dealing with my healing, if we don't empty that reservoir constantly after the healing, all the emotions went down, this is why we become moody. We become grumpy. Mm-hmm. You know, I had an incident one time in Montreal. I was standing in IGA, and it's a supermarket store, and there was one woman jumping, shouting, and in front of, we were in the big line, and she's not patient, and she, you know, my guy said, "Why don't you tell her, ask her?" I said, "Are you kidding me? You want me to get a fist on my face?" He said, "Don't worry, don't." I said, "Excuse me, when's the last time you had sex?" She went completely like that. She said, 12 years. I said, "That's why you're grumpy."
Wow.
She said, "But I'm Catholic." I said, "Yes, but there's a free system. You can do it." "But I'm Catholic." I said, "I don't care if you are. I am Catholic too." Big deal. Because you've been, for the 12 years, it depends on that marriage you've been into it, and you never resolve anything. All of these feelings are sitting in your reservoir, boiling for 12 years. So you're going to act it out just to release something. Wow. Because you're over full.
Yeah.
So there's no breathing room anymore for you. And this is why you don't have patience. You don't have anything, because it's completely overtaken the body for you. So, and everybody, this line was surprised of the whole conversation, but at least I didn't get the fist, so which was okay.
Right.
And but this is why our sacral chakra is very essential, but it has to be used for the right reason. Because it could be we're using it to revolt against a system. If we revolt against a system, we're still doing it in a negative way. We're not empowering ourselves. And we need to bring that empowerment, because we are supposed to have that chakra in a healthy way. Not in, because if you ask somebody, if you're making love with someone and you're doing just the mechanic part of it, but you're not feeling it, you're missing a big boat here. Because you're out of the feeling.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, unfortunately for women, because they went into 1,000 years of male domination, and the male resist to let go of it yet, many women has to create a persona for them as bringing a lot of male energy in order to defend themselves. And that's a normal way to survive. This is about survival now. So they adopt a male energy to them in order for them to survive. But that survival, in order for them to become into the high management job, they need to be in the boys' club. And you can see a woman with a male energy. You can see it spotted 5 miles away. And you can see a woman as a female energy. You can spot it 20 miles away.
Right, right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You can see that. You can see it in their walk. You can see it in their hand, in their feet, and everywhere, because they have to adopt it. And this is why for women, they need to let go of that male domination, because since year 2000 to year 2999, we are into a female vibration. So the male doesn't work anymore. So this is why now I'm having more clients coming to me as a male when I open their female.
Ah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have a lot of women that want to get rid of their male.
Makes sense. Yes.
You know what I mean? Because the energy doesn't support it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It used to before. I need to have that protection. I need to have that comfort zone, safety, that I'm protected. Because I had abuse, I had many different things that happened in my life, not only about this life, we're talking for the whole many centuries, because it was male domination. And we can notice it from year 2000 till now, the male still fighting to resist, to give it out completely.
Right.
Now, if a woman that needs to take higher positions in life, she cannot be a male woman energetically, because the universe is not supporting that. So she won't win. If she's still in the boys' club, she won't win. But if you have presented somebody with really, and you can tell a woman vibration, you can tell it, you can spot it miles away. And when you see that, then that can be able to have the chance to win, because the whole consciousness is supporting it.
Okay. Wow.
You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah, yeah.
I'm talking on the different levels here. We're not only the human level that we might understand it, we might not understand it, but it is consciously, we need to have more female. As a female, it's not everybody who wears a skirt that means they're a female.
Right. I get it. Yep. It's more
the same way. Not everybody laughing, they're happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So we all put masks in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're going to take those masks away, and that's where we need to start identifying with our own true blueprint in order to take those masks away. Because we are living in an illusion. We think we are free, but unfortunately, we are living into an illusion we are free.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not free. We're still trapped into a matrix. We're still trapped into things that is not allowing us to do this or to do that because of certain restriction here and there. So we don't have the freedom that we all deserve to have. And the 5D consciousness is not coming to just bring us the 5 vibration, the freedom that we all deserve to have, is coming also to allow us to start gaining back and bringing back our free will, because we lost our free will a long time ago.
Hmm. Yeah, and people that you see who are living joyfully, happy, and fulfilled, they tend to, just live life to their own rhythm, right? It's like they play by their own rules, and they really have this air about them that they don't care what people think, and they're just constantly guided by what feels right for them, and they're really not stressed or freaking out about anything. There's not a fear that they're holding. They're just kind of like in this flow. I wanted to just ask you one more question before we begin to wrap up, and I want to go back to the number 5. So you're talking about the number 5 and what it holds for sexuality. But what if some people aren't a 5? Like, are the people who are numerology known as 5s, are they damned? Or does all humanity have a level of 5 vibration? Because when you were talking about, when we overindulge or underindulge, I see all humans struggling with all of the above: gambling, sex, shopping, drugs, alcohol. I mean, you name it. We all can tend to move into those areas at any given point.
Because it's easier to go to those.
Right.
To diffuse our deep anger from inside.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened, like in your name, you have 2 5s. Now, if you want to strengthen your 5, you need to bring Anne, because it has another 2 5s.
Okay.
the normal in a name to have at least 3 5s. 3, 4, 5 is a normal. You have 2 now because you don't use an all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're under. So you might have some waking up coming to you from your birthday. Moving forward, you might have some, hey, April, you need to do this. You need, it's like become something important that I need to clear up something, because we need to start expressing, freely without having to make a scene about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to be pretending I am this way just to show that I am in that. You can be more doing it silently, and you have even better result from anybody else that put it on in the front. Now, whoever have a destiny 5 that are here with the 5 to learn about themselves, that's mean it is a repeat life, because they tried in a previous lifetime to take freedom, but they weren't successful with it. So they're coming to give another trial. So in this period now, this year, especially 2021, is also a 5.
Ah, okay.
So it's gonna help to bring that into perspective, that they're gonna be rushed into doing something. They're gonna be rushed into saying, it's time for me to be myself, to start to be free from all the older energy from culture, religion, family, all the nonsense that is no longer supporting me. But it's not about going into talking about it, it's about taking that energy from you, because those energy are stuck in you.
Mm-hmm.
So the 5D consciousness is not about we're going to have something that bring us some freedom from outside. It's a freedom of our own energy that we've been stuck for centuries with them.
Mm-hmm.
And sexuality is part of it. But sexuality, why we're making a big deal about it, it's part of life. But because of our old experiences, maybe it was jammed in the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to unjam that energy, and we'll have it completely normal. You don't have to stress over it even. It become part of life. This is part of life.
Right.
But you need, if it is part of life, and it is the most powerful energy, by the way, because of that, at least you need to have it and you feel it. Because if you don't feel in it, then there's a problem.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let our listeners know how they can unblock themselves, find their blueprint with you. It sounds like you have some workshops that you offer. So let our audience know, if they would like to learn more about themselves, their own blueprint, and work with you, how can they find you?
They can go to soulvisionawakening.com, or they can Google me. They can find my name everywhere. So, or Facebook, they can find me. I have a program called Soul to Soul Connection. In Soul to Soul Connection, it is a 14-week program. In that program, we go and take all the lower vibration of the feelings that we have and accumulate it from our childhood, from this life, and even past lives. We do it in the 14 weeks. And in that program, there's 5 weeks alone. In that 14 weeks, we talk a lot about self-love, because that's where we're missing the bigger picture. If you check with people how much they have self-love towards themselves, you will notice there's very minimal. Because if you treat yourself badly, if you've been bringing pain to yourself, if you're bringing diseases to your body, into anything, that's mean you're resisting something else. And we're taking care of all of that aspect, because to me, disease is not a problem. Disease is a something I've been resisting. So any disease we have, or pain we have, or keep attracting accidents, it's only a pattern for us to wake up to do something. So it is a symptom. I need to fix the problem, where the problem came from. So if you have a problem with, you always have neck, shoulder, that means you're not communicating properly. You're not expressing yourself. You don't like to be seen and heard. And you're sitting in the back seat most of the time. So you'll have all the problem around the neck, shoulders, and that reflect with this throat chakra. So everything we do, it has association. So that program, and we release for good the whole thing. And this program starting on April 13, and I have another one in May coming up for that. And also that there is another form of now for me to release is through painting also. I have one painting coming up in May that is called Awaken the Artist Within. And eventually in that program, I don't teach art. I am awakening your gift of painting. And that's what I do. I open the gift, we'll start releasing whatever is in your way, and then you start putting it into a canvas on your own. And you will see the result is phenomenal from what it happened. And you can see the result from anything that is possible. There is a lot of things that, if somebody would like to have a quick call with me, then feel free to connect with me, and I can have a conversation for half an hour, and we can discuss where I can see where they are stuck. Because if things are not moving fast, that means you're stuck somewhere in between.
Yeah. Sign me up for all of it. It sounds beautiful. And coincidentally enough, this show is going to be airing on April 13th. So there you go. And the art behind you is beautiful. I'm really drawn to actually two of them. So for those of you who are watching this on Path 11 TV, I love the circle one behind you. And then there's a larger one that almost looks like different color Post-it notes. They're kind of like squares of lots of colors. I don't know how to describe. How do I?
The top, bottom?
Yeah, it's long. It's a big one. And then there's like the teal blue beside it and then another one. So like I'm drawn to like those two specifically. And I love art. But
the first one is done in a balloon.
Oh.
So I put a few colors and then I twisted the balloon and it brought all different shapes, different colors, different, I had about 4 paintings like that. I've done, then I got bored. So I'm a Gemini, so I got bored faster.
Well, I love it. I love the art, and everything that you're doing sounds so good. I'm fascinated now. I want to learn even more. You've opened up so much for me, to really think about in this episode. So I hope my listeners feel the same way. It was such a pleasure to meet you. And I know that we're going to see each other again on April 18th, because again, you're presenting at the Sacred Sexual Music Festival. Numerology and Sexuality is Joseph's talk. And then he's also doing a closing meditation on April 18th. You guys can get your tickets at sacredsexualmusicfestival.com. There are 27 speakers at this festival. Conference, I keep using the words interchangeable because there's a lot of teaching, there's music, there's yoga. It is being broadcasted throughout the world virtually. Path 11 Productions is bringing it to you guys. Tickets are now on sale. If you haven't gotten your ticket, you missed all the deals, but it's only $99. So $99 for 3 days, 27 speakers. I mean, the schedule is jam-packed. Take a look at the schedule. I'm introducing you guys to so many of the presenters. We are going to be putting out a podcast every single day the week leading up to April 16th. So I hope to see some of you there. And I hope you guys reach out to Joseph Ghabi, because he's got some good stuff. And if anything, you saw how he read me, and he doesn't even know me. And just by looking at the vibration and the numbers of my name, he's pretty spot on. So Joseph, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, April.